Well, welcome back to My Co-Host is Not Having a Good Time. Today we are going to cover the Battle of Five Armies, first part of that. As usual, I'm Jacob. This is Your In Depth, and I'm here joined by Obi City. Yeah.
I will stab you.
Yeah, you're not having a good time tonight, buddy.
I was having a great day until I found out how good I am. So, there's that.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you live in constant denial, that's bound to creep up sometime.
Well, shut
up. Anyway, no, we're starting our coverage of the Battle of Five Armies, the third Hobbit movie, and we will be, walking through and breaking this down. Today's episode should extend right up until about 58 minutes into the movie. That'll be about where we stop it. But I don't have any Lord of the Rings Hobbit news or whatever. I mean, there's a Amazon Prime show being developed, but
Comes out next year.
Yep, but I think we mentioned that before. So I mean, that's not really anything terribly new, but that's still exciting.
The new news with that is it's actually got a release date now.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool.
It's like here recently, they just finally have come out and said that it's going to be airing in fall of 2022.
Oh, okay.
So that is new information.
Okay.
Spanish, Jacob, if you didn't know.
Yeah, okay. All right, sure. Anyway, so let's start off this movie. So we start off, last
recap.
What?
We need a recap. We didn't.
Yeah. Well, I was just about to say last movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You confused me because you were starting off, and I was like, wait a second, we're on a whole new movie here. They need the recap, the thingamajigs with the stuffs.
Sure.
Totally threw me off.
All right. Well, yeah. All right. So here's the format. We're gonna go recap, quick tiny little announcement that I want to throw in there at the beginning so people hear it, and then we'll go get into it. So recap. Right. Last movie, they entered Erebor. The dwarves found it. They arrived. They had a little bit of some times where they're like, "Oh no, we didn't get in here," or whatever, and like, no. Yeah, they're like, essentially like giving up. But then, moonlight comes in. The door is revealed. They unlock it. They enter. However, Smaug's there, so their master burglar, Hobbit boy Bilbo, goes down into the giant treasure room and tries to find the king's jewel so that Thorin can use that to gather and truly be king or whatever, gather his armies.
I guess I didn't mention, but that whole treasure room where Smaug is in that we see in the last movie,
yeah,
totally not the actual treasure room of Erebor.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh boy. Well, anyway, the room
That's
of
not
treasure.
The treasure room at all. That's not the treasure room where they keep the valuable stuff.
My goodness. Well, anyway, the room that has treasure in it, there's a bunch of gold, a bunch of everything. Bilbo goes down there to try to find it, right? He finds it, however, Smaug is also down there. So he's very close to it. He gazes at it, and Smaug mentions, he's like, I'm almost tempted to let you take it just so that Thorin will go mad. Because, note, Thorin's, line so far has been pretty well driven mad by the wealth of Erebor.
They mentally insane.
Yeah, they're getting kooky up in here. But anyway, so yeah, and then he tries to incinerate Bilbo. Bilbo slips to be invisible, takes off running past the jewel, and goes and meets up with Thorin. They try to defeat Smaug. They fire up the forgery and all this. The forge, not forgery, but the forge.
Forgery is something different there, buddy. Forgery is illegal.
Shut up. Shut up. You know what I mean.
That is crimes.
Well, I think that regardless, the forge. They fire that up, and they melt a bunch of gold. They fill up this large statue with it. As Smaug is looking at it, they break free the mold, and all that gold just spews onto him, and he's coated in gold. But that really irritates him, and he's already thought that they've come from Laketown, so he bursts free, goes out of Erebor, breaks through, and heads straight for Laketown.
Yeah, because Bilbo gave out too much information.
Right, and the last lines we get of that movie were Smaug saying, "I am death." So he's seeking out Laketown, and he's going to be, taking his out his frustration on it, getting revenge.
I'm just imagining Mortal Kombat, and they've done all this stuff to Smaug, and he's tried to kill the dwarves, and it's just getting towards the end of the fight, and you just hear, "Finish it."
Yeah.
And the finishing move did not work, and Smaug didn't die from the
right
stuff. So he's just like,
right.
It's on, round 2, fight.
Yeah, they were a little off key on their button mashing, and it failed.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's our recap. That's where we're at right now. Now, the quick little announcement I wanted to say, super quick, is we have TikTok and Instagram now, as well as the email. Get in contact with us, join our Discord, all that. But the main thing that I was wanting to say is be sure to leave an Apple podcast review. Every 100 of those, we're going to try to do a live stream, and I really want to see that happen. And plus, it helps us out. Having positive reviews helps more people see our podcast, or they're recommended, or whatever, and it helps. So please do that. But that's all the shorter that I wanted to do.
And let's be real. If you're still watching this, or I guess listening to this podcast, you enjoy something about it. So I'm sure people that will enjoy something about it as well, whether it's the actual content or me being an idiot.
And on top of that,
but you enjoy something about it,
right? And thinking about this, or think about this like this way, right? Every 1,000 downloads, we have done a blooper reel. You could experience the blooper reel before they're bloopers, because they wouldn't be bloopers because it's live and you hear everything.
Yeah, bruh, if this was a live recording, a live stream that we were doing right now, at the beginning of this, they'd have some content.
Yeah, 100%. This will end up in the blooper reel. But yeah, at the beginning of this,
beginning of this could be its own blooper reel itself.
Right, and just to give a little bit of context, you'll hear it in the next blooper reel, which should be very soon. All along, you guys, if you've been listening, you know that how we record things is I watch the piece of whatever we're watching or covering. I watch that in advance and take notes, and then I walk through the notes, and Evan comments on things as I go, and he breaks it down. But his method is watching the movie on his phone alongside me. So he's seeing what I'm narrating, right? Well, Evan found out today that you can actually just, pull that up on your computer, and our audio recording stuff will not capture the audio of it. So basically, there was a lot easier of a way for him to have been watching all these things.
It wasn't just that, though. It was the fact that I have 2 monitors already. And the one monitor has Audacity pulled up for capturing the voice, and the other monitor just sits here sitting on Discord because that's what we use to talk to each other. So the second monitor's not doing anything.
Yeah,
and
so
I've been sitting here this entire time looking at my phone, making sure my microphone is in my mouth, so I'm gagging on it. When in reality, I could just be sitting here with the microphone in my mouth, gagging on it, looking at the screen instead of have to worry about losing the microphone.
Yeah, and actually, Evan's not really exaggerating too much. The type of microphone that he has, you do have to be pretty close to it. So anytime you turn your head down, up, left, right, any way, a tiny bit, it gets all the quieter.
Literally right now, this microphone is up against my cheek and the corner of my mouth. As I'm knife-handing the crap out of my face.
Anyway, so...
And there was a whole 5-minute spiel of me just insulting myself before this episode started.
He had some choice words for himself. So either way, I look forward to that. But what I'm saying is that could be live. Either way, without wasting any more. Well, I liked what we were just doing there. How you were, continuing to yell.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. I like it. But
and I keep looking
anyway,
over at Audacity, and I'm just seeing the huge, like, whatever they're called, showing that I'm talking. And it's just like, normally it's like a thinner line, you know, like it's picking it up.
Yeah.
I'm not being terribly loud. But right now it's just like plastered all over the screen.
Yeah. I'm imagining it's pretty all over the place. Either way, so let's get into the movie. So, like I said, where we left off, Smaug was like he had his eyes set on Laketown, and now we open up and we see Laketown. That fat master dude and his stupid servant are fleeing on a boat with a bunch of like gold and stuff. Like they've just taken a bunch of wealth with them, like all of the people, you know, and they're just making out like off with it, you know.
Yeah, they're just making out.
Yeah, they're just. I don't even want to think about that grisly slop fest of a. Ugh. Anyway, what?
Well, and the master's sitting there too, like talking about like, oh, I told you we shouldn't trust the dwarves, but he's the dude that was like, hey, let's help them so we can get more gold.
Yeah, I know, but anyway.
Like he's just like contradicting himself and sounds like a moron.
Yeah. So we see Smaug coming in though. He's getting closer.
Tauriel looking at the mountain.
And then, and we see Tauriel. She is gathering Bard's family so they can get out of town. We then see Bard, and he is still imprisoned, and he's trying to get free. Tauriel and company start floating down the river. They get a boat, and they start moving along.
We are so much further ahead.
Yeah, well, it's pretty fast-paced what's going on here. I didn't see too much to be noted.
Yeah. I guess I'm just not seeing it yet because... No, I don't want to be bringing up the volume. I want to be advancing the freaking movie.
Yeah, no, I mean, generally what I'm doing is I'm hitting point by point. I'm not going minute by minute. So I mean,
I was trying to use I was trying to use the arrows to fast forward the movie, but I had just clicked on the audio for the video to quiet the video down a little bit.
Yeah, I understand.
And so it was making it louder and softer as I was hitting the arrows.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But anyway, so. They start going down the river, and as they're seeing Smaug come in, he lights up Laketown, just like Chicago circa 1871. Like, straight up fire everywhere, you know?
Oh, cha.
We see the Master and his Hagraven disregard the lives of their people as they just keep going. He's just kind of like, they're weighing us down or whatever, get them out of here kind of thing. You know, screw them, essentially. But their boat isn't moving quick enough, and they need to lose some weight.
Well, it's not just it's not that it's moving quick enough. It's literally that it's like starting to sink from all of the weight of the gold.
Yeah, but instead of like, I don't know, getting rid of some of the gold, the Master just kicks the little, Alfred off of the boat. He's like, all right, see ya. Like, you're the weight we need to lose.
Oh, yeah. Well, and as he goes to do that, we do see Bard... taking sheets and whatnot and like tearing them and tying them into like makeshift rope.
Right.
And he throws it out of his bar window there that he has in his little prison cell, and it wraps right around the Master's throat, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I really wish it would have killed him, but either way, it drops down, hooks onto the Master's throat, but then catches around his throat and a beam kind of thing to where there's more of a solid kind of thing. It's pulling him against it. Yeah. But as the boat goes along, it is able to pull the bars off of Bard's jail cell. He then runs around.
Honestly, through all this, we are getting like brief scenes back to Smaug as he's just burning the town as well.
Right, yeah.
But I don't think we need to bring that up every single time it happens. But just just remember that as we're going through this, it is having quick cuts to Smaug just raining fire.
Right, yeah. But yeah, he runs out and he's running kind of around the rooftops and stuff as Smaug is continuing to burn the town.
Yeah, because he grabs a bow and some arrows from what I assume is an armory there in Laketown.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is kind of pointless, though, because as we were told in the last movie, like, only a black arrow's strong enough,
Right.
fired from a wind lance is strong enough to like to pierce a dragon, to kill a dragon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just because of how thick and hard their scales are.
Right.
And so like even just that bow is kind of pointless unless he's aiming for that one scale that we did see in the last movie that is missing.
Mm-hmm.
But even with that, like I would assume like Bard doesn't even know if that's actually true. It's just kind of like a story at this point.
Right. Yeah, and on top of that, I don't think that his arrows are probably going to be able to pierce that,
Well, yeah, well, and I mean, like, even if that's what he's attempting with the bow right now,
Yeah.
or that's his goal. Per the movie, Smaug attacked Dale and all that went down that we saw at the very beginning of the first movie, right? That all happened 60 years before the events here in the films.
Yeah.
In the books, as I've said before, it is a longer span of time that passes per the book, but here in the films, it is 60 years. And so even then, like, Bard wasn't even born yet. He's only heard stories of maybe there's a missing scale, It's not even like he's sure.
Yeah. But we cut back to the dwarves that are near Erebor. They're they're watching the town.
Yeah, and they've actually moved out of Erebor into like kind of like the outskirts of Dale, the ruins of Dale.
Okay, yeah.
Watching.
And
You
Balin.
can just see that the city, like even from where they're at, they can just tell that it's engulfed in flames. Like and looking at the video here, like you can see it, like black smoke rising from it, and just the
Right.
like the yellow red glow against like the dark background.
Yeah. And Balin, he goes, poor souls. Like there's nothing they can do about it. They're just watching, and they're like, man.
Well, and Balin would definitely know, like more so than the younger dwarves. Balin was there at Erebor when Smaug attacked. Like as we see, again in the first film at the very beginning, there you do see Balin there when Smaug attacks.
Yeah. But we also see Thorin at this point, and he's looking at that castle. He's not really concerned about the town. He's just occupied. He's like, I need that, my kingdom or whatever. He's really kind of consumed by it.
Like dragon sickness, on the gold is affecting him. We saw it, in the last film there towards the end. We saw it a little bit, but in this film we definitely will be seeing it a lot more, and it'll be a lot more obvious, and it'll be a lot more like a heavy presence in this one. So
yeah. But then we go back to Laketown, which is taken on the form of the California forests. And Bard is running across rooftops. He climbs up a tower to get the high ground. But anyway, starts firing arrows at Smaug.
Oh, yeah, and I was going to say, with the film, too, it even, at least for that first arrow, it even, like, zooms in and shows you that, like, as you see the arrow, like, just ricochet off of Smaug.
Yeah, it's like doing literally nothing.
I think it's just more to, like, emphasize that this is doing nothing.
Right. But we do see Bard's children down below, and they see Bard on top of the tower. His son, as he sees him up there, and I can't think of his son's name, but remembers the black arrow, and he's the one who took it and hid it in that boat near that statue. Well, he sees that statue as they're going past it, so he gets up, or actually, I don't know if he does quite yet, but he gets up and he goes and grabs it.
And does a little hardcore parkour over to the statue. And his name is Bane.
Bane, okay, yeah.
Yeah. He does a little hardcore parkour with a little, like, crane, and gets over to the statue and grabs the black arrow that he hid under, all the ropes and whatnot.
Yep. And then we cut back to Bard, who is on his last arrow. But as he has that, his kid comes up, Bane comes up, and gives Bard the black arrow. Yeah,
and I don't know how well, like, those arrows that he was shooting at Smaug would stand up to, like, trying to aim for the mouth. I don't know if they'd be able to survive the fire, as Smaug is breathing. But I mean, maybe that's what Bard is aiming for at this point.
Maybe, or like eyes or something. Like maybe he's just trying something to
trying to find some sort of soft spot.
Right. Maybe.
But he is just missing over and over again.
Yeah.
Part of it.
Well, he's not missing though.
He's missing like the vulnerable spots that Smaug has.
Yeah.
And I would assume part of it is just Smaug moving so fast. Another part would be all the destruction, the noise, the background noise that he's hearing, the screaming and yelling and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just the pressure of the situation in itself.
Yeah. But
I'm sure he's got a million things going through his mind right now, and all this distraction that it's affecting him as he's trying to shoot.
Yeah. But Smaug attacks the tower that they are in and then goes off and lands. During this, Bard's son almost falls. Smaug then turns to Bard, and he addresses him. He says, he goes, "Who are you that you would stand against me?" And he's kind of like setting his eyes on him, being like, "Really?"
Well, and again, and it's like I talked about in the last movie with Smaug, or with just dragons in general for Lord of the Rings. They're very arrogant, they're very prideful. So like in this instance for Smaug, it's like one tiny pathetic little human thinks he can fight me, thinks he can stand against me, he can he thinks he can defy me. Yeah. Bull crap, I'm gonna show him what's what type of deal.
Yeah. But we see as Bard reaches for his bow that it has been broken in half. And now Smaug is approaching Bard, and he starts asking about Bard's son. Says that he cannot save him. Smaug says that his son will burn.
Yeah, and Smaug even comments on the bow being broken too. He's like, that is a pity. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, you don't even have a weapon now.
Yeah.
Like, it's hopeless. You have no weapon. You're not gonna get help. I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah. But Bard takes both halves of the bow and pins it into the supports of the tower, and then strings it up tight. So he's basically made a very primitive wind lance.
I would say a very rudimentary wind lance, or what's it called, a bastila?
I'm not sure.
The giant crossbows from
I don't know.
times. I think that's what they're called. But essentially, they shot large arrows the size of this black arrow that we're seeing.
But he made
a rudimentary version of one, an impromptu.
He's made a stationary crossbow essentially. Yeah. But then he has his son hold up the arrow kind of as that that rest for it. Yeah. And he starts pulling it back. Smaug keeps approaching, and Bard actually notices that missing scale on Smaug. So he knows his target.
You even see a little bit of the grin on Bard's face as he realizes
yeah,
I can do this. There's a chance.
Right. And Smaug charges them. Bard tells his son not to look behind him, and then has him move a little bit to the left. And then Bard releases the arrow and drives it home, just right where he's aiming, just straight into that weak spot. And Smaug crashes and then flies up way above the Notre Dame Cathedral. Flies very high up, and he's kind of gasping for air almost as he's flying up there. And he's still got that burning orange in his throat and stomach.
Well, and the one thing that I find cool with this scene too is it's not even so much, at least the way it looks, it doesn't even look like he's flying up there. It almost looks like he's trying to climb something, but obviously there's nothing there. But the way he stretches out his wings and he raises one after the other, it looks like he's climbing something.
Yeah.
More so than actually flying.
Yeah.
As you said, as he's it seems like he's trying to gasp for air, trying to, I don't know, stop himself from dying or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something. But up until now, his throat and his stomach have been glowing orange, as well as his eyes, and we see them just fade. Mm-hmm. And then he just falls. He's dead. He
and he lands right on the master's boat.
Yeah,
and kills
yeah,
him.
he crushes that stupid fat trash.
And so this is another part where it goes away from the book.
Oh, really?
So in the book of the Hobbit, when Smaug is killed, he doesn't crash down and like land on the Master. The Master actually makes it out of Laketown on his boat with his treasure and with the few guards he has with him.
Mm-hmm.
And all you hear about the Master after that is that he escaped and made it to the wilderness, and no one has seen him since.
Oh. Well, I'm glad.
Like some of his
this.
guards end up returning to the people that survive, but the Master is never seen again. And so it's just kind of like assumed that he either starved to death or he was killed by like wolves or something out in the wilderness.
Yeah.
For the book.
In our movie, the favorable option happens and he dies. Bilbo sees this from a distance and points out, he says Smaug is dead. Thorin then approaches Erebor, almost caring nothing of the events that just occurred. He's just kind of like, oh, he's gone? All right, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
I'm able to enter now, you know?
And one of the key things we see here, and I don't think a whole lot of people pick up on it, is after, Bilbo makes that comment, you hear some of the dwarves in the background like, oh, maybe he was right. Maybe Smaug is dead. You do hear one of them even comment that the ravens of Erebor are returning to the mountain. And that seems very insignificant, but it is very significant. Just because, like, with Smaug dead, with the ravens returning, it opens up so many options for the dwarves. Because the dwarves use ravens as essentially as like messenger pigeons type of thing, like that you see in like other like medieval shows and stuff like that. The dwarves use ravens for those, and so now that the ravens are coming back, they can use those ravens to call for help. They can use those ravens to spread the news that Smaug is dead if they want to. Like this opens up so many avenues for them that I don't think a whole lot of people pick up on.
But we get just moving along a little bit. Yeah, wow. Yeah. You don't really notice those kind of like you notice them, but you don't really notice the significance of, stuff. That's, yeah. But we get a title card, Battle of Five Armies, right? Flash across the screen. And then we cut to, I believe it's Dol Guldur, right?
Yeah.
Where Gandalf is. And he's in his little cage.
He's still being held captive.
Yep. And he hears Galadriel speaking to him. I can't think of what she says. Isn't it? It's in a different language, ain't it? No, maybe it's not.
Yeah, she's speaking Elvish.
Okay, then. So we don't know what she's saying, but we hear her.
Yeah, and we do. And it does do like kind of like a pan out of Dol Guldur as well before jumping back to. The survivors of Laketown, like scrambling to the beaches. You see some small boats as people are trying to paddle their way to the beach to safety.
Yeah, we do cut back to the remnants of 1660s
everybody's just
London.
Everybody's like freaking out, trying to help family members or trying to get food, trying to find family members. Like
right, Tauriel and Bard's kids are searching for Bard.
And I mean it's like as you would expect, like even with any natural disaster, like. Afterwards, you find like crowds of people trying to find relatives, find some sort of shelter, some sort of food. I mean, and really, as a for dragons in Middle Earth, they're essentially like walking natural disasters, anyways. So,
well,
it's essentially just a earthquake mixed with a volcano erupting. But.
We see Alfred though, and he screams, "Why me?"
Yeah.
He's being all stupid.
He's being like over dramatic about it.
Very, yeah.
Like he's like going the over the top with being dramatic on this one.
Yeah. But we see Keely and Tauriel have a little romantic exchange. To where he goes and tells her to come with him. But then Legolas shows up. And Keely gives her that stone from earlier, saying goodbye. Then
and he even speaks some Dwarvish, and it doesn't give us a translation, but it's assumed that he's like saying "I love you" to her.
Yeah,
and like
flattery,
she
she
even says like I don't know what that means, and he's like, I think you do. Like you know what I said, even
Yeah.
without knowing Dwarvish. You know what I mean.
Yeah, you know that it was heartfelt, and yeah.
Mm.
But then the dwarves make it towards make their way towards the mountain.
And if you look closely, Jacob, in the
Yeah.
film,
Mhm.
what they're using to like paddle with the boat, they're using like shovels. To
Oh,
paddle.
I
They
didn't.
don't have
notice
actual
that.
paddles. They're using shovels.
Mhm.
Because, yeah, just because like all the ruin and whatnot, that's
Yeah.
their options. It's like shovels or like giant. Trying to think what they're called. It's like when you see like kind of in like the older movies, the bakers use that giant like shovel looking thing to pull the bread out of like the furnace.
Oh,
when they're
yeah,
cooking.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that stuff, whatever that thing is called.
Okay, yeah.
Giant paddle, I guess.
I don't know what it is, I guess, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know
Yeah.
what to really call it, but yeah. Either way, so yeah, whatever. Alfred is chasing down someone, asking for a blanket or clothing or something, and then demanding it. And he tries pulling this like false authority card.
Yeah.
He's like, do you know who I am? Essentially, like, he's like pulling this like, I am above you, bow down to me. And the lady starts like yelling at him back, like basically like, you're nothing essentially. And then Bard stops him, and then his kid comes in and knocks Alfred to the ground. But hey, Bard's reunited with his kids. They all start cheering for Bard, who killed Smaug.
Yeah.
Good old Hunchback tries pulling like it was me who supported him all along type of thing. Starts lying as they yell at him for trying to make off with the gold. He just, it just gets to where he's just lying nonstop, trying to make himself look good.
Yeah, and Alfred is one of those types of people that like he will try and get in favor however he can.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how despicable it is, no matter how morally wrong it is, he will try and do what it takes to get in favor with whoever's in charge.
Right. And then all the people of former Troy try to hang him. And I honestly wish they would have, but they like they're like, hang him from the tree or whatever. They start hauling him off. But then Bard stops them and yells. He's like, have you not had your fill of death? Kind of gives a speech essentially being like, listen, we're what's left. Do we really want to keep killing people, killing each other? Why would we do that? And he's, giving a bit of a thing there.
Yeah, and I mean, he ends up going on with that kind of giving direction and giving them purpose at this point, because right now, like, they don't know what to do. They're all lost. They have no idea what's next, and so Bard kind of like steps up and tells them, we gotta find food, we gotta get shelter, take care of the old, the sick. Like,
Right.
Really, really points them in a direction for the best chance of survival at this point.
Mm-hmm. But we cut away again to the second group of dwarves. They have reached that plateau, approaching Erebor, where I think it's the same place that they were supposed to meet up with Gandalf. Is that right?
No, they don't actually go to the Overlook.
Oh, okay.
So what we see, we just kind of see them approaching Erebor, just like down what's left of the road that used to be there.
Oh, all right.
And they get to the front gate and they see the front gate smashed open from where Smaug had left. And they see all the ruin and whatnot, and they go rushing in looking for the rest of the company.
Okay. Well, either way, they're approaching, and they end up entering in, and they rejoice at the reunion with their other, the other guys.
But Bilbo finds them first though, and tries to warn them, like we need to leave. We gotta go now. Like there's something wrong here. Something is out of place. Something's not right.
Yeah, Thorin is going mad.
Yeah, and he even, I don't want to say bad talks Thorin, but he's like trying to explain that like Thorin is not in the right headspace. Like something is seriously wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And because we don't really get to see it with the film here, but it took these 4 dwarves like several days to get to Erebor.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
Bilbo even says, like, Thorin's been down there for days. He barely eats. He doesn't sleep.
Right.
He's just obsessed with finding the Arkenstone.
Right. And
And then goes on and talks about, like, the sickness being on here and it's affecting Thorin and, all that.
mhm. Yeah. And we do see, yeah, Thorin's down in the treasury. He's searching and stuff. He commands all of his party to search the gold until the Arkenstone is found. He is then commanding them to do it. Bilbo breaks away, though. Yeah.
Sorry, I was like, and under different circumstances, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thorin ordering the rest of the dwarves to find the Arkenstone would not be a big deal. Like, that would be the obvious thing to do. But the fact that Thorin has gone multiple days with barely eating, not sleeping, and being in the mindset that he's in, it really brings home or brings across that picture of him being mentally ill, really, at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if it was under other circumstances, like if he would have come up and like, greeted them and glad they're still alive, maybe given the rest of the dwarves a little speech of victory or whatever,
Yeah, like greet him and then be like, "Hey, help me with this now."
Yeah, it would be a completely different feel to the scene. But the way that Thorin ends up going about it, you really get that feeling of the sickness being very heavy on him.
Right.
And he's even like wrapped himself in like royal looking clothing, like a cloak, and like really trying to take on the persona of being the king when he doesn't even have the Arkenstone to back it up.
Right. But Bilbo breaks away from them and he takes a seat. And he starts like kind of remembering back to his time in that big room with Smaug. And we do see that when he was like invisible, he turned invisible right before Smaug like blew fire at him, and he ran past that Arkenstone. He actually swooped it up, like he picked it up and he has it. He then takes it out and kind of looks at it. And then he's looking at it. Then we cut back.
Yeah, well, in that flashback too, we even get the dialogue from Smaug again about how he's tempted to let Bilbo take it, to let him give it to Thorin, just to watch Thorin go mad, just to watch him fall into madness, watch it destroy him. Like, we get that dialogue again, and really for a reminder of what we've been told about the dragon sickness and all that.
Right. But we cut and go to the survivors of the Canada wilderness, and they are packing up, and they're going to head towards Dale, the old one that, is there. And Alfred keeps referring to Bard as sire. He's kind of taken on that, like, he's always going to be the like, brown noser and the one who's going to be second in command. Like, he's always seeking that. Bard is now, like, pretty well the leader, and he's taken that on because of how people like him and stuff. And then immediately Alfred's just like, "Oh, I'm with you,"
Yeah,
and it's
yeah, and we do see even more of Alfred's real character. When he's talking about, he's like, "Oh, the mountain. That's genius. Plenty of, it's shelter. It'll be nice and warm. We won't be worried about the weather, and plenty of gold, plenty to go around. There's a lot of gold in there, and trying to take that route, whether he intentionally did it or not, like, we really get to see even more of how much of a dirtbag he is.
Yeah. But then we cut away from them, and we see just a massive orc army led by Azog.
Before we continue there as well, I think it is important to point out, with Bard, when right there at that scene as well, he ends up talking with Legolas, and Legolas even brings up the point that others are going to start looking to the mountain. They're going to start looking to it for the wealth, and like leaders, whether on the good side or bad side or in the middle, are going to look for tactical position. Because it is a kingdom in itself, and it is a stronghold. Like, positioning wise, it's a very key point, and with no dragon to stop anybody from taking it, it's open to whoever gets there first.
Yeah.
And that's something that really worries Legolas, especially like with the scene we had in the last movie where they had captured that orc, and Legolas and Thranduil, his father, were talking and questioning the orc. Like for Legolas and for the elves, this is a real like problem. Whereas for Bard, he's just trying to protect his people.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, we cut to Azog with his giant army.
Yeah, and he's marching towards Erebor.
Yeah.
We see Bolg come in. Is that his name, right?
Yeah, and
Bolg. Yeah.
And this army too it's not just like a couple thousand orcs, which again that in itself is a large army. We're talking like tens of thousands of orcs.
Yeah.
Like armored up, and I would assume like hardened steel. In formation. Like this is an organized army, large army of orcs.
Right. And Bolg comes in and informs Azog something. And then...
he informs Azog the dwarves have made it to the mountain.
Oh, right, yeah, okay.
And even tells him that the elves pursued Bolg from Mirkwood. Azog questions him whether or not he killed the elves, and Bolg tries to play it off like, no, they ran like cowards.
Yeah.
But Azog does inform him, well, now they're going to come back with their own army, so it's just going to be that much harder to take the mountain. Like they're going to come back with an entire elven army, fully armored, fully armed.
Yeah, and he commands Bolg to go to Gundabad and gather the legions. We cut back then, moving again to just scene to scene, who moves. We see Tauriel and Legolas, and he talks of Gundabad orcs, I believe.
Yeah. And I would say even the way he talks about it, like you get the feeling that there's a history there for him. And just the kind of the expression on his face and the tone of his voice, for me at least, it kind of gives across like the feeling or the tone or whatever you want to call it, that like there's history there for him, whether it was him directly or a close relative or family member or friends or something like that. Like something happened there and it's really affected him at some point in his life.
Yeah. But an elven messenger comes in and tells Legolas to return to the kingdom, the Wood Elf place, and informs them, though, that Tauriel is banished. Then, kind of, just moving rather quick, there was some dialogue there. But Tauriel and Legolas then head north to Gundabad to check it out. We then cut back to Gandalf, who is speaking some language and communicating with, I think, Radagast.
Yeah, and so it doesn't specify which language Gandalf is speaking. It literally just says Gandalf speaks foreign language.
Right.
But yeah, he is speaking with Radagast through whatever magic they're using.
Yeah.
And I would assume that Radagast is then, passing the message on to Galadriel.
Probably, yeah. But an orc comes in, approaches, and picks up the cage, like
and
that
there
Gandalf is in.
There is actually some backstory on this orc as well.
Oh.
That you don't get from the movies, and it's something that is not even directly said in the books, either. But it's kind of like in some side stories and whatnot. But like the orc that we're seeing here, is like he was an executioner, and he was like a ruthless and like brutal executioner. Like he would torture his victims before he executed them, and rose through the ranks of like this, the orcish armies and whatnot. And essentially got to like the rank of like a lieutenant, like an officer.
Yeah.
And because of his brutality and his merciless torture and all that kind of stuff that he would do, like for orcs, like that's a good thing for them. So like he rose up fast and
yeah.
And really, you wouldn't even know it, but he's really a badass for the orcs, at least.
Yeah. All right. I need to read those like side stories and stuff so I learn this kind of stuff. But anyway, I guess I have you. So the orc approaches, though, picks up the cage that Gandalf is in and slams it down. And he comments, he goes, "Spells will not save you."
Yeah, and we actually do see here as well that the orc is getting ready to take the ring that Gandalf is wearing.
Right, which you commented a couple episodes how it is the Ring of Fire. It's the, and Gandalf, is wearing it.
Yeah, it's one of the 3 elven rings. And for those that have watched the Fellowship of the Ring, they talk about there's the scene where it goes, 3 rings were given to the elves, 7 to the dwarves, and then 9 to men. And the one that Gandalf is wearing is one of the 3 elven rings that was given to him from the elf that it was initially given to.
Yeah, but the orc is after that ring, and we do see while he's like looking at it, Galadriel is walking in, like she's approaching, and
it does specifically show her hand as well. When right before you see that it's her, it does specifically show her hand. It shows another ring because she has one of the 3 elven rings as well. Yeah.
But this orc is about to cut off Gandalf's hand to get it, and Galadriel approaches, saying that she will leave with Gandalf, and if the orc tries to stop her, she will destroy it. And he tries to stop her, and she destroys him. She literally vaporizes him.
Yeah, like literally. It's not even like she just kills him. She literally just uses magic in one stroke, and like rips the flesh from his muscle, the muscle from the bone goes flying literally just blows him into pieces. With like one swoosh of her hand.
Yeah. But
and then she becomes a hoss and literally just picks Gandalf up and starts carrying him.
Yeah. But then in come the 9 of Sauron's army, like those
and we
ups,
get the 3 rings given to the elves, 7 to the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, and then Galadriel 9 for mortal men doomed to die, like that iconic thing for Star Wars or for God bless America for Lord of the Rings. We get Galadriel says the 9 for mortal men doomed to die.
Right.
And then, like you're saying, we do see now these 9 ghost-looking figures still like clad in armor and whatnot. And for those that have not picked up on it, these 9 are the 9 that received the rings, the 9 men that received the rings, and the rings corrupted them to the point where they literally turned into wraiths under Sauron's control and literally have no thought of their own, no control of their actions.
Yeah. But Galadriel sits down with Gandalf, and she says that she's not alone. And in comes Lord Elrond and Saruman. Then these 2 just kick butt.
They just go ham.
They are like, yeah, but the 9 even they're warping around like like using blink, like that kind of like I don't know what
and
game
that's
that
the
was
thing,
from,
though,
but
with the 9 here, there's Elrond and Saruman, even with their magic that they have, do not have the ability to permanently kill the 9. Because of the magic in Lord of the Rings that created the 9 and that turned them into wraiths and whatnot. Yeah. There is specific weaponry that you have to have and crafted in a specific way and imbued with specific magic that you have to have to actually harm them.
Yeah.
And even though Elrond is one of the oldest elves alive and is insanely knowledgeable, and you have Sauron, the most powerful wizard alive right now.
Oh, Saruman, yeah.
Saruman, yeah, like even with these 2 being as powerful as they are, and they are among the most powerful beings in Middle Earth, they still don't have the ability as they are right now to kill these wraiths. because of the specific magic that was used to create the wraiths in the first place.
I see. But Galadriel brings Gandalf basically back to life. It kind of looks like he slipped away. Then Radagast enters. Galadriel says that Gandalf cannot remain there as it is draining his life. So she sends off Radagast's sleigh, like she puts him on it, and then sends off that to get him out of there.
That and even I would say it's even draining Galadriel.
Yeah, it does appear to be as
here.
well.
In this very dark place, and because Dol Guldur does still have some very powerful, like, dark magic on it, especially with Sauron using it as his base right now.
Yeah.
And so I would say it's definitely draining Galadriel as well.
Sorry, I yawned. So, yeah, and she sends off Gandalf, and they continue fighting those 9. But then Sauron appears and says that the kingdom of Angmar shall rise, the time of the orcs has come. Then Galadriel just turns in that little from the ring, and starts, just going off on him. Banishes.
And so she actually uses, I'm trying to think of the name of it, it's the File of Something. And she has it in her hand, and it's actually something that you see in the Fellowship of the Ring. It's the gift that she gives to Frodo. And it's essentially, if I'm not mistaken, it is an item that has somehow, some way, it has magic put into it, and it actually has like a star in it that gives her incredible power, but at the cost of her own life force, at her own mind. And that's why after she does this, you see her collapse and stumble backwards and collapse and just look completely physically and mentally drained.
But she does, in doing this, she does banish Sauron, who flees to the east.
Yeah.
And like you said, she used most of her power to do that, and she is now very weak.
Yeah, and Saruman even comments on that as well. And he does tell Elrond to take her to Lorien where she can recover. And for those that are not aware, Lorien is it's another kingdom of elves. Is what Lorien is. For those that were not aware.
Then Saruman, he says that he'll pursue Sauron. He says, leave him to me. And then we cut back to Gandalf.
And I will say, though, too, because per, the whole backstory of Middle-earth and, the creation story for this universe and whatnot, and I have equated it back to kind of like the Bible, because it is symbolism back to the Bible.
Yeah.
And Saruman, right, and Gandalf and Radagast and the other 2 wizards that we don't know their names of.
Right.
And even Sauron himself were all essentially, if we're equating it to the Christian religion, they were essentially angels. But Sauron is, if you have a tier system, he's 2 or 3 tiers above the wizards, like Saruman and Gandalf and Radagast. It's a good 2 or 3 tiers above them. He's so much more powerful, even in his weakened form, that Saruman here is being arrogant in his own power. He has too much confidence, and he doesn't realize the type of battle that he has ahead of himself. And he's essentially just set himself up for failure right here with this comment that he makes.
Yeah. But we cut back to Gandalf, and he's needing a horse from Radagast, and he's going to be heading to Erebor. Before he departs, Radagast gives Gandalf his rickety staff.
Yeah. And so
he gives him that, and it's you gotta really maybe adjust the top a little bit.
I think it's really cool, though, because in the Fellowship of the Ring, if you remember back, Jacob, right, the staff that Gandalf has in the Fellowship of the Ring is this same staff.
Oh.
And if you remember to the Mines of Moria, when they first enter, Gandalf starts playing with the top of his staff in the Fellowship of the Ring. So it's
I
still
don't
got that
recall.
little. So it's like when he first lights up the area in Moria,
Hmm.
and he actually like pulls the staff down and fiddles with the top a little bit because it's the same staff. It still has the same issues, and it was really cool for me, having watched the Lord of the Rings movies first, and then watching this, that they actually like worked that part of it into the Hobbit and kind of gave an explanation for that.
Yeah, that is cool. But yeah, so he gives Gandalf that. We then cut back to Thorin, and he is upset that they cannot find the Arkenstone. He's acting like a madman, kind of like a spoiled child in a way, but very, upset. Thorin,
He gets to the point though where he starts accusing, his family and his these dwarves, his biggest supporters. He starts accusing them of like trying to steal it or hide it from him.
Yeah, because he even points out he states, he goes, if anyone shall find it and withhold it from me, they're essentially, they're in trouble,
Yeah.
And after he makes that claim or that statement, Bilbo approaches Balin, who is pretty distraught because of Thorin.
And like you can Balin's even like crying.
Yeah.
He's watching like his best friend literally mentally break down. Mentally decay right in front of his eyes.
Yeah.
And we could only imagine what that must be like. Like that's got to be terrible.
Yeah, really. He talks of Thorin's greed, though, and Bilbo asks him, like, if he had the Arkenstone, if he were to find it and have it, would that help? And Balin comments saying, honestly, it'd probably make it worse.
Yeah, because he even explains a little bit further too, like the vast treasures and whatnot in Erebor. Like the Arkenstone is the crowning jewel over all of it. Like the Arkenstone is what completes it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of to the point where, like, even if Thorin had the Arkenstone, he's just going to crave more treasure.
Yeah.
It is all that's going to accomplish.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I don't know if this is a good analogy for it, right? But it's kind of like when you have, like, those drug users, like the ones that have, like, an addiction, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's said a lot that when you have like the people that fall for those addictions, like they're always searching that first like high that they had, that first like feeling of using the drug that they had. But the more that you use it, the more the less you start to feel it, and you can never get that high again. So like for this, like if Thorin were to get that stone, he's gonna feel the high of getting the stone, to having the power. Then he's never gonna be able to find something.
No.
To feel that pride or that power that he gets from getting the stone. He'll never be able to find anything else to equal up to that. And it'll just become an endless search of him trying to find something to make him feel the way he felt when he got the Arkenstone.
Yeah. But then we see Bilbo sitting down on a bench, and he's looking at something in his hand. And Thorin approaches and demands he shows him what's in his hand, like obviously paranoid. Like, are you withholding it from me? Do you have it? Like he's really upset. But it's just an acorn. And Bilbo shows him this, and he held it onto it.
Yeah, and with Thorin though, it's almost the point again. It's like you have that druggie, that addiction, and like they can't find their drugs. They want more. Like, where's it at? Where's it at? Do you have it? Do you have my stash? That's essentially what Thorin's doing here until
it's like
he
that
actually
meme
sees
that I
the
keep,
acorn.
It's like that meme I keep seeing where it's just like, "Did you drink my Mountain Dew?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you drink? Yeah. It's like you're very paranoid. It's like everybody's out to get you. They're withholding from you. You know, he's definitely like that. But no, Bilbo, it's a acorn, and he says that it's from their journey, and he wants to take it home and plant it, so that he always has something to remind him of this journey.
Yeah.
And in this moment, like Thorin, he kind of turns back into well, himself.
Yeah,
And they have this tender.
We get to see the original Thorin again.
Yeah, and he's got this tender moment with Bilbo. He's breaking from that greed-fueled madness, and he's just sharing it with him. He's like, you really kept that, like really, it's this important to you. And then one of the dwarves comes in and says that those the people from Laketown are entering Dale, and Thorin's mood just changes back. And
I genuinely do think, and because Dwalin is the one that shows up, the bald head and the huge beard, like the biggest of them all, like muscle wise,
Yeah.
I do truly believe that if Dwalin had not shown up and interrupted that moment, there's a real chance for Thorin to come back and to actually be able to beat this dragon sickness that's falling over him.
Yeah.
But since
I can see that, because we definitely see him,
needed, Yeah, the time that was needed for him to really overcome that was interrupted. He didn't get that full time. He didn't get to really soak in the genuine, like, good-heartedness that Bilbo was showing him.
Right. But we cut to Bard, and they notice the dwarves are in the mountain. Bard instructs Pee-Pee Poo-Poo Hunchback Garbo Man to take the night watch.
Yeah, and I mean, we do see him, going through Dale, and we get to see more of the ruined city. And Bard's trying to, like, kind of get things set up, get things established as well. And he's really just trying to direct the people to get the best outcome they can get. But it does cut back to the dwarves, and they're fortifying the destroyed front gate with just a bunch of, like, huge stones.
Yeah, I mean, Thorin's going back to being mad and paranoid and protecting his gold,
Yeah,
his wealth.
We do see Keeley stand up to Thorin in this moment too, because Thorin talks about how it was a hard fight for them to get the mountain back. He doesn't want to see it taken again.
Yeah,
all this type of stuff. And Keeley does bring up that, like, the people of Laketown helped us. Like, they gave us the supplies we needed. They gave us the ability to reach the mountain in the first place.
Right.
And they just suffered, a dragon attack, losing everything. And, like essentially, like, we need to help them. Like, we gave them our word we were going to help them. And Thorin just retorts back with, like, I know what it's like to be attacked by a dragon. Like, I know what it's like. I know the struggle that they can go through. They should just be happy that they're still alive. Type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. We get a quick glimpse just of Gandalf riding across to kind of this desert-ish area. But then it comes back. We see Bard and them, and it is morning. He goes and checks in on Alfred to see if anything occurred over the night. And Alfred replies with, "Nothing gets past me, except for an army of elves, because there is so many elves."
Well, and on his way up to talk to Alfred too, this is when we see even more of, like, people coming to Bard with their problems and him trying to come up with a solution, but really they don't have the resources for it.
Yeah.
And we do get to see the elves here. They're bringing carts of, like, food and medical supplies and all this kind of stuff.
And but Bard apparently this... Go ahead.
Bard even thanks Thranduil, for their help. Like, literally, like, you saved us. Like, we are literally going to survive because of you. And Thranduil's just like, I didn't come here for you. Like, that wasn't my intention. Like, that's not what I'm here for. Just being all smug about it.
Right. His purpose there is because he wants to get those gems.
Yeah.
They debate going to war. Bart wants to verbally negotiate with the dwarves. He wishes not to go to war. So we cut ahead, and Bard, goodness, approaches the dwarves and speaks to Thorin through kind of a wall. And basically Thorin says, "We don't owe you anything. let's go to war. You know, he's being very stubborn and very not nice. But Bard asks if he will stay true to his word. Thorin basically says, nah, I did what I had to.
Yeah, and well, because Bard approaches, like, when he starts trying to talk to Thorin, he's coming across, he's trying to be respectful, you know?
Yeah, he really
and
is.
Thorin is just not returning it in the slightest. Like, Thorin's being an ass here.
Yeah, he really is. And Bard says, he says, you gave us your word. Does that mean nothing? And, yeah. And Bilbo comments, he's like, you cannot go to war. We are outnumbered. Thorin says you shouldn't underestimate dwarves and prepares to defend Erebor.
Yeah, and I think it's really funny that Thorin really thinks that this is a valid option. You know, because it's literally 13 dwarves and a hobbit versus thousands of fully armed elves.
Yeah.
And like the elves in Lord of the Rings are known for like their archery skills, their skill with a bow, their accuracy. You know, like the elves don't have to do anything. All they have to do is sit outside and wait for the dwarves to starve to death. If the dwarves try and leave, if they try and peek over their little makeshift barricade, they're just gonna shoot them in the head.
Yeah, really.
Like,
but
and it just kind of makes me laugh a little bit. Just that Thorin even thinks this is an option.
Yeah. But the dwarves break off and sever the bridge that enters into Erebor.
Yeah.
The elves prepare to attack at dawn, and the dwarves prepare their defenses.
Mm-hmm.
We see Thorin getting his armor put on.
Well, and
he's getting suited up.
Yeah, I just remembered too. And this was the point where I was saying, you know, with the ravens returning to the mountain was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
While, I could be wrong. I mean, we see the dwarves getting armored up, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you do see a raven come flying out of Erebor. And I'm trying to think if it's at this point or if it's at the next day. But we do see a raven go flying out of Erebor at some point. And that's just, again, reaffirming the fact that, like, now the ravens are back, like, they have options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, we do see, as you were saying, we see, you know, the dwarves getting ready and getting their armor on and getting weapons and whatnot.
Yeah, and Thorin gives Bilbo some chainmail, like some, like, high-end, like, almost even, I want to say magical chainmail.
Yeah, and so what he's actually giving Bilbo is called Mithril.
Okay.
And Mithril is only found in the Mines of Moria. And the Mines of Moria fell, that kingdom fell, I mean, we're talking like thousands of years before these events. So, like, this shirt is extremely rare, extremely valuable. And Thorin even says, you know, that it's hard enough, it's almost as hard as, like, dragon scales. Like, no sword's going to pierce it, no arrow's going to get through it. Like,
yeah.
Even this very skinny, and it's very lightweight as well, like, this little skinny, lightweight chain shirt could literally just stop an arrow from killing you. Just as it is. And again, for those that have watched the first Lord of the Rings movie, we do see this shirt in that first movie as well. Mm-hmm. And we see Bilbo give it to Frodo. Right.
But Thorin is giving it to Bilbo here as a token of their friendship. He says that true friends are hard to come by. He tells Bilbo that he has been betrayed by one of the dwarves. Yeah. He believes someone has found the Arkenstone and is withholding it. Thorin starts saying how he is betrayed. He starts saying, like, how, you know, he's not going to part with this treasure. He won't part with a single coin. It's all the dwarves, no one else's. And he starts when he's saying all this, his voice is majorly distorted.
Yeah, and you get that kind of like that Smog kind of tone in the back.
No, you really do,
Smog
because
was saying the same thing.
Right, because he kind of like extends his like words in a way like this. He's like, I won't part with a single coin, right? And even thinking back how Smog talked, it's just like
like
and
the same
fire.
way.
You know,
Yeah,
like he's very prolonged. He's letting his kind of words hang a little bit.
Well, and I don't know if you remember, Jacob, though, but the words that Thorin is saying here, like, I won't part with a single coin, not a single piece.
Mm-hmm.
Smog says the literal exact same thing.
Oh, okay.
In the second movie,
yeah.
like word for word, verbatim, says the exact same thing. And when Thorin starts talking to Bilbo at first about this, at least I get the feeling that, and I kind of see it in Bilbo's face as well, that it's almost like Thorin's about to accuse Bilbo of taking the Art of Stone. Like somehow he found out.
Yeah, you kind of do get that amount of tension there.
Yeah.
Like that suspense more so.
And
Um,
it's just like the parallels we're seeing here between Thorin and Smog is just massive.
yeah.
And I did have a thought, or remembered, and with the whole mithril shirt thing, right? The value of it is so large that Gandalf even comments at one point in the Fellowship of the Ring that that shirt by itself is worth more than all of the treasure in the Shire.
Hmm.
And like that's how valuable it is. That's kind of like a side note. But that's how valuable like that mithril shirt is.
Okay.
But with this scene, though, it's definitely a huge parallel to Smog, and definitely showing that dragon sickness taking effect. And it's just kind of like I would say, like, one of the lowest points for Thorin right here. I would say this is one of the lowest points for him.
But yeah, for sure. And but we see dwarves march on for battle. They're all suited up. They're moving along. We then cut to Legolas and Tauriel, and they are observing Gundabad. Beyond this like gate-looking structure is the ancient kingdom of Angmar. That one, the one that Sauron mentioned.
Yeah, and
this is where
I
they.
know I had mentioned Angmar before in a previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
But the ancient kingdom of Angmar, during the war that happened that you see like the final battle of in the first Lord of the Rings movie right there at the beginning, that whole war, the kingdom of Angmar where they're right on the border of, it swept down and it swept through the whole western lands. It took over the lands of the Shire into the kingdom of men of Rohan, which again we don't really introduce them until the second Lord of the Rings movie, but all the way into like the kingdom of Gondor, and like this kingdom took over almost all of like the free peoples, and like almost completely wiped out elves, dwarves, men, hobbits in that war. Like this was a very powerful force, a very powerful nation before its final fall.
Yeah. Yeah, this is this place where they're at is where they kept their armories. And they actually see a little light within it.
Yeah.
Legolas points out, he says that this is where his mother died, in Gundabad.
Yeah.
His father doesn't really speak of it. There's no real memory of it. There's no grave. There's nothing.
Yeah, and it's kind of like when I was saying when Legolas first talks about Angmar to Tauriel when they're still there with the refugees from Laketown. This is where we get that personal connection he has with this area. Like he lost his mother here. His mother died in this land.
Yeah.
And that's why we get that kind of look of almost like anguish, or kind of like almost like he has that like 1,000 yard stare where he's not really here type of look when he talks about it.
Yeah. But we cut back to the survivors of Evan's junior high farmhouse.
Oh, thanks.
And
appreciate it.
Gandalf enters
We're supposed
in.
to tell anybody. But yeah.
Anyway,
Gandalf enters in, and we do see we do see the survivors of Laketown getting ready for war. They're getting some training from the Laketown guards. We see some of them, working on some swords and whatnot, trying to get them, cleaned off and ready for.
Yes, and but Gandalf, he enters in. He speaks to Bard after being confronted by Alfred. he informs Thranduil and Bard of the threat that is coming. Thranduil basically says it's likely not a huge deal. Like, don't worry about it. But
yeah,
Gandalf
I would
says...
even say it's not even to that point. For me, at least, I get the feeling that Thranduil just completely dismisses him. And doesn't
really.
even think he's telling the truth. Thinks he's just trying to trick them. That's the feel I get from it, at least.
Yeah, I can see it. But Gandalf says the enemy is showing its face now because the dwarves have actually reached Erebor. And the enemy wants it for its strategic position of reestablishing the kingdom of Angmar.
Yeah. And because the kingdom of Erebor is on the southern border of of what was the kingdom of Angmar. And so having Erebor for the orcs gives them that fortress that can protect their land while they rebuild, while they reestablish Angmar.
Yeah.
And as I think it was back in the first movie, it's even talked about how while Smaug was still alive, he didn't have allegiance to anyone, and so a dragon on Sauron's side is a big thing as well, which I would assume was the initial goal of Sauron was to get Erebor and to get Smaug on his side.
Yeah, probably. But Thranduil asks where these orc armies are, and we cut away, and I think that this is probably a good place to end for now. And that's right at 58 minutes and 21 seconds.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably a good place.
Yeah, and before we cut real quick though, before we finish up here, because literally right here, right before it cuts to the next scene, Gandalf even talks about how if the kingdom of Angmar were to rise again, if it were to be brought back, he even talks of Lorien, the Shire, what was it? Let's double check. He talks about Rivendell, Lorien, the Shire, and even Gondor itself would fall. And Gondor is the big kingdom of men. It's actually, if you were to look at a map for Middle Earth, the kingdom of Gondor is massive. And they've got a plethora of able bodies for their armies. They have strong armies, and even with all of their might, Gondor would still fall if Angmar were to rise again, if it were to come down. And so Gandalf here is really just kind of trying to lay out the severity of what happens if they lose.
Gotcha. Yeah. And
I don't think Thranduil really cares for it. He's not taking Gandalf seriously here. He thinks it's just a hoax. It's just the feel that I get from it.
Yeah.
But anyways, in the next scene, this stuff starts happening.
Yeah, let's just go through the entire movie. 5 hours later. So, anyway, yeah. So that's where we're ending this first episode of our coverage. We will pick up right where we left off here in a week. Next episode should be Mandalorian. I think chapter 12, I want to say we're on. I didn't print off my notes, so I'm not sure. But I think I'm pretty sure it's 12.
But whatever, we're on some episode of Mandalorian.
Yeah. Yep. And anyway, so we'll hear from you then. As I mentioned way earlier, we do have the Instagram, TikTok, the Gmail, and the Discord. Please do not hesitate to get in touch with us. We actually also have a voice message option on Anchor. So if you have a review, please go do that on Apple Podcasts. But if you want to literally give your voice as feedback, we can include that in an episode. So you guys we can share your input.
Go for it.
Honestly, yeah. Tell everyone what you think of Evan. I'm going to give it, I'm just going to leave it at that. It doesn't have to be negative. It doesn't have to be positive. I will enjoy one thing more than the other, but I'm not going to share which one that is,
It better be negative.
Evan likes that sort of thing. He's a bit of a verbal masochist. Either way, we're inching inching closer to our fourth blooper reel, and I think we're within 20 downloads of it. So I'm very hopeful that this episode will push us over. But yeah, that's where we're at. I mentioned the reviews, ways you can do that. A result of that is obviously that live stream we always mention. But yeah, keep the downloads coming, and I don't know. See you next week.
Yeah, and again, I think you had mentioned it before early in the episode, but you can find Jacob over on YouTube.
Oh yeah, sure.
At Roof Crew Socially Unacceptable, as well as your other podcast that you're doing.
Yeah, you can.
That you were doing that you're kind of on break for right now.
Yeah, we're on a break from that, but you can go check out Down the Road. We've got the entire what we've capped as the first season. If you want to hear random stories and stuff.
And if you want to get more of my dumb, you can find me at Future Instinct on YouTube.
Yeah. Yep. But other than that, see you guys. And thanks for listening.
Peace!
Deuces!